Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. It's December 2nd, 2022. Let's talk NFL football. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, yesterday, very important game for us, right? If you're a futures bettor. The Buffalo Bills took out the New England Patriots. They did so on the road. Understand, Buffalo dominated the game to the point where the time of possession they had exceeded 38 minutes. Understand, in terms of yards per pass, very important metric. The New England Patriots yesterday had a yards per pass of less than 5. That's significant. In other words, they were dominated. Right? So, understand, when you're a futures bettor, you almost certainly want the number one seed, the team with the bye the first week, coming out of a conference. At this point, there are only 3 teams in the AFC who could be the one seed, in my opinion. Right? It's December 2nd. I'm just telling you there are only 3 teams. Understand how important it is to get the one seed early before it's apparent to everyone that they are the one seed. When that one seed plays at home, usually they are the favorite in the game, right? Sometimes you have some weaker one seeds. Last year in the AFC, you had the Titans, right? But if the one seed is given the usual odds, they're going to be favored when they face even their toughest nemesis in the conference. Now, the team with the jump on everyone in the AFC are the Kansas City Chiefs. Right? Understand, all the Chiefs have to do, and it's a tall ask, is win the rest of their regular season games. And they are the one seed in the AFC. This video, by the way, pertains to the AFC. We'll deal with the NFC another time. The only other teams in the AFC that have a chance at being the one seed, in my opinion, are the Buffalo Bills, who dominated New England yesterday, and the Miami Dolphins. Now, here's some key games you need to be aware of. Right? Earlier this season, Buffalo beat Kansas City, week 6, at Buffalo. Right? That game is significant because Kansas City can't afford to be tied with the Buffalo Bills. Right? They need to keep the edge they have. Also, understand, Miami beat Buffalo week 3 in Miami. So let's look at the schedules here, and let's ask the question: can KC run the table? If you believe they can, then even if you have money on KC, you need to up it a little bit here. Right? We know these teams are going to make the playoffs. The question is, where are they in the playoffs? Kansas City is a very hard place for opponents to play. So, week 13, and this is a huge game. If you're a futures bettor, this game's as big as they come. Kansas City's on the road. They're facing the defending AFC champions, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Right? Now, just understand, Cincinnati beat the Steelers recently, right? Beat the Titans recently. They're playing great ball, but they're banged up. Joe Mixon has missed some games, right? Jamar Chase, according to reports, is going to be just coming back. Kansas City needs this game, right? They can't afford to lose to Joe Burrow this week, for a host of reasons. If they lose, they immediately give up the advantage they have right now over the Buffalo Bills. You want the Bills to lose enthusiasm, not gain enthusiasm. Let me point out, too, that it was a bit shocking that the Bill defense was that good yesterday without a guy with 8 sacks. Von Miller, right? They were clicking on all cylinders yesterday. Also, there were reports that Josh Allen had a bad arm. Folks, his arm looked A+ to me yesterday. And I mean A+. I was expecting some slippage on the arm. No, he looked healthy. Right? So understand, Kansas City needs to keep its momentum. It needs to keep its players energized, that they control their destiny right now. You lose that if you lose to Cincinnati, especially since Buffalo has already played this week. Right? The Thursday night game is the only game that happened this week. Also, it's very important that Kansas City win this game because Kansas City is starting a 3-game road trip. Folks, that's long by football standards. Understand, too, it's deceptively hard because the Bengals don't have the Chiefs' record, but the Bengals have been playing good football. Right? That win over the Titans was impressive. Week 14, Kansas City would travel to Denver. Now, I know Denver has underachieved this year. At least the offense and coaches have. But Denver's defense keeps them in games. Right? The big question is whether Kansas City, with its second road game in a row, after starting the trip with a tough game against a playoff team from last year in their backyard, right? Will KC keep the intensity? The third game should be a layup. It's a road game, but it's against the worst team in the league, the Houston Texans. Right? Week 16, Kansas City returns home. They face the Seattle Seahawks at Arrowhead. Week 17, they face the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead. Then the last game of the season is a road game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Right now, I find this schedule to be manageable. From this seat, it looks to me that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the 1 seed out of the AFC. Right? Let's talk about Buffalo's schedule because you need to pay attention to that. They've already played Week 13. They won on the road, shortened week against Belichick and the Patriots. Right? Next week, they play at home against the New York Jets. Right, folks? There's a lot of newness with the quarterback situation with the Jets. Right? That's going to be a dicey game. Then after that, they have really a game of the year. Understand the Dolphins beat them already this season in Miami. Week 15, Buffalo at home against the Miami Dolphins. Right now, you need to pay close attention to the weather. Right? These guys from Florida historically haven't done well in cold weather in Buffalo. Right? But understand, the Dolphins are one of only 3 teams with a chance to be the 1 seed in the AFC. If they can find a way to win this game against the Buffalo Bills, the pressure will be on both teams down the home stretch. We'll get back to the Dolphins in a minute. They have a very tough game this coming week that I personally feel they lose. Week 16, Buffalo goes on the road. Buffalo ends the season with 3 consecutive road games. The first one is against the Bears, right, in Chicago. I believe they win that game. The second one is a road game against the Bengals. Folks, the Bengals hold a lot of cards in the AFC. They play at home, both Kansas City and Buffalo, going forward, right? They play Buffalo week 17. Week 18, Buffalo has a home game against the Patriots. Now, let me say this. In boxing, we say styles make fights. That phrase could also apply to American football, right? New England just got embarrassed at home. Folks, they were embarrassed in the playoffs last year against Buffalo, right? For the time being, I have no reason to believe that Buffalo doesn't have New England's number. So I believe if we get to week 16 and the Bills need to beat the Patriots at home, I think they do. Right? So just understand the tough games on Buffalo's schedule. I think week 15 against the Dolphins, that's going to be a tough game. Week 17 on the road against the Bengals, that's going to be a tough game. Right? With Kansas City this week, week 13 against the Bengals on the road, that's a very tough game. I believe once they get by that, it should be smoother sailing. Although, again, teams like Denver, excellent defense, could give problems. Right? The Raiders, the last game of the year, had the leading rusher in the AFC and seem to be improving. They've won their last 2 games. They seem to be improving as this season goes along. Right? By then, they would also have people back like Darren Waller. But understand, for the Raider game to matter, that would mean that Kansas City's sitting in the catbird seat going into the last game of the season. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Now, I believe the Dolphins lose this week because I believe the Dolphins are playing the team that are the best in the NFC. Now, they don't have a shot, ironically, of being the 1 seed in the NFC. But the San Francisco 49ers, right, to me, have the best roster in the NFC. Miami is playing them this week in, I would say San Francisco, but I live in Santa Clara County, and I know they actually play their home games down here. Let's say it's a home game for the 49ers. Understand, Miami's schedule is tougher, in my opinion, than Buffalo's schedule and then Kansas City's schedule. If you're thinking about laying a bet on futures, you need to be aware of that. After they play a road game against the 49ers, they stay on the road. They travel south to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Right? That's going to be a tough game. Justin Herbert is better than advertised. Then, in their 3rd consecutive road game, they travel across country, several time zones, to play the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Let's just say situationally, that's less than ideal for Miami. Right? It's not just the weather. It's the scheduling. It's the fact that when they play the Bills, a tough team, in a tough climate, it will be their 3rd consecutive week on the road. Week 16 has them against the Green Bay Packers. I'm guessing that by then, Aaron Rodgers will no longer be playing. He'll be tending to his injured thumb. But understand, Green Bay, and that game would be at home in Miami. Green Bay has an excellent defense. Then week 17, they go on the road to play the Patriots in New England. Right, folks? They are divisional rivals. Right? The Patriots made the playoffs last year. They might have plans on making the playoffs again this year. This might be a must-win game for the Patriots. Then, of course, Miami returns home to face the New York Jets. The way I see this playing out is I think Miami's schedule derails them. I believe you realistically only have two teams with a shot at the 1 seed in the AFC. Because these are futures, I believe you need to have money on both of them. But just understand, if Kansas City can get by the Bengals in Cincinnati this week, things will look a lot better for them. Right? Because, of course, they would be playing the Broncos twice, the Houston Texans once, right? The Raiders, who are still below 500, once, and they would have Seattle, a tough team, at home. So, I believe at this point in the season, realistically, only Kansas City and Buffalo have a chance to win the AFC. If Kansas City loses, that opens the door for the Buffalo Bills. But gamblers are going to have to be looking hard at week 17, a road game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who themselves have playoff aspirations. Right? I think Kansas City wins the AFC. I'll concede Buffalo looked good yesterday, and that Buffalo has a chance. I don't think anybody else in the AFC at this stage, in early December, has a realistic chance of being the 1 seed. You definitely want the 1 seed in your betting portfolio. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.